How are you feeling? You got John Riggs here checking out some great games from HAL Laboratories for the NES. I've had a lot of requests for this one. I was like, I don't think I have a whole lot of games, but 11 games for the NES, and we're going to cover all of them in this video. I'm doing just US releases, so new Ghostbusters 2 won't be on this list. And I'm doing games published by HAL. Now, Kirby is a HAL game, but Kirby was published by Nintendo, so Kirby won't make the list either. 11 games, this video starts right now. The Adventures of Lola is the game, man, I wish HAL would just take a break on Kirby for a while. A few months. 6 months to a year, make a new Adventures of Lola game. I love Lola so much. It started out as like Eggerland in Japan for the Famicom Disk System, and we have 3 of them, and we're gonna cover all 3 of them in this video. And all 3 of them, it's kind of nice. It's kind of like the Mega Man series. If you love one of them, you're gonna love all of them. Because the only thing that really changes is sometimes the graphics update a little bit, different background music, that's kind of cool, but it's the same style of game. You push these blocks, you have to get all the hearts, and you have to go through the door and make your way through the castle. These hearts will sometimes give you upgrades, like after you get some hearts, then you can use like a ladder or a hammer if you need. Sometimes you get these shots that you can either, capture an enemy into an egg, not all enemies, but some enemies into an egg, and you can push them and use it as a barricade, or use it, you can float across the river. You can hit it twice and they'll just, fly out of the way in the first place. Tons of levels with the Adventures of Lola. I like to play through these every once in a while, especially the first 2. I'm a big fan of the series. I have fond memories of renting this game the very first time I played it at a grocery store. This is back in the day when grocery stores would actually have like video game rentals. It was insane. And my local Safeway had Adventures of Lola, so a dear place in my heart for this game. I'm giving this game an A. The Adventures of Lola 2 has one of the most terrifying scenes in video game history. Check this out. Now, if that doesn't strike fear, I mean, just the look on her eyes. Such a terrible, terrible thing. And again, more of the same. Same kind of enemies, same kind of puzzles, just more of it. And that's what I love about this game. The Adventures of Lola 2. That's what I love about this game. You played through the first one, you had fun with that one, and now there's a whole lot more for you. Here you go, Lola 2, great. I mean, if I gave Lola the first one an A, this one's also gotta be an A. And then you have the Adventures of Lola 3, which is actually kind of different, a little bit. The puzzle elements, the gameplay, that's the part that's the same. But on this one, you can play as Lola or Lala. If you want to play as the Lady Lola, you want to play as the girl in this one, go for it. Doesn't grant you any special abilities or powers or anything. They both play exactly the same. It's just for, just for looks. And you have a little bit of time where you can kind of go. You can go to this place, or you can go to this place, you can go to this place. Sometimes when you unlock things, you'll get the key, which unlocks something, or you have to take out a few of the areas to open up a different area. This one also features bosses, which is cool. The other ones didn't really have a boss. There's kind of like an end boss, kind of, but this one actually has like end bosses for some of the areas. So Lola 3 has a lot more going on for it than the first 2, but it's still the same Adventures of Lola style of game, which is wonderful. And I was hoping to see a 4th one. I was hoping to see Adventures of Lola for the Super Nintendo. It never happened. Never happened. And I'm still waiting for something to happen with Adventures of Lola. Make it happen, please. Nintendo, come on, please. I'm also giving this one an A. Air Fortress is a fantastic game. I don't know if I'd call it a hidden gem, but it's really, really, really cool. And it's certainly one that I like to come back to every once in a while. 2 modes of gameplay in this one. You start out as a shooter, just kind of a horizontal shooter, not really too intensive. You're just shooting the other enemies, dodging the attacks, dodging the walls, things that are in the way. You will find these little orbs that are like energy or B for bomb, I'm guessing. And you have to collect those because once you get inside the Air Fortress, this is gonna be your life bar. This is gonna be your health. This is gonna be your special attacks that you can use while you're inside this Air Fortress, of which there are 8 of them in this game. 8 worlds, basically. It's cool because once you land, once you go inside, you go down the elevator, and then it turns into one of these kind of games. A little different gameplay element here. You can fly it around, float around, that'll use up some of your energy. Kill the other enemies as well. I liked the fact that when you shot your bullet, you actually kind of, flew back a little bit. I just thought it was kind of cool. Sometimes if I'm trying to get out of there in a hurry, I'll turn my back to it and start shooting just so I can scoot out of the way quicker. And this is quite the maze too, because there's no one way you can go. You just have to hope for the best. You go to a certain place, you leave to a different place. You have to go in and find the reactor, blow up the reactor, get back on your little airship, and then get out of there. Only later on levels There's like, the reactor might be in one room, but then your little air jet thing might be in another room. You have to remember which one was where and where to get to, how to get to the other one, stuff like that. Love this game. Super, super cool game. It's called Air Fortress for sure. I also have very fond memory about this game. This was the first game I saw on the Sharp TV. Well, it wasn't the Sharp TV. You know the Sharp TV that has it's like the TV that has the Nintendo built into it? Well, my local store is called Curtis Mathis. I remember this today. They had something called The Game. It was just called The Game. And they had the TV with the Nintendo built into it. And it had Air Fortress played. That was the first time I ever saw Air Fortress. I think it's pretty neat. I think you should check it out. I'm gonna give this game a B, not quite an A. Still needs to have some polish to it. Still worth checking out. Daydream and Davy, you tell me about this game, because it has great colors, has some kind of cinematics and all that, but I can't get into this game for the life of me. I don't know why or why not. I mean, you play as a kid who's daydreaming, then all of a sudden your levels are kind of your daydreams, your dreamland, your landscapes, your world. The first one here, as you see, you're kind of like in medieval times, and I mean, you're fighting off enemies and all that. It looks like the kind of game I would absolutely love. It looks like the kind of game that I couldn't wait to get my hands on. It looks like the kind of game that I just play it all day long, all weekend long, eating my breakfast cereal in my pajamas, playing this game all day. And I didn't because I couldn't get into it. And it's the perfect game. On paper, it sounds like a great game. And when you play the game and you have the game in your hands, you're just like, it's missing something. I don't know what it's missing. As much as I want to love this game, and I've tried to get into this game so many times in the past, and because of that, and I just get disappointed every time, and I can't explain why. I really can't. I'm putting this game as a D, believe it or not. Again, it's still playable, and you can definitely check it out for yourself, and it looks so great, but I can't get into it. So Daydream and Davy, sorry, it's a D. And you know what, the other day I thought I was daydreaming, but I'm really not. I was looking at the analytics of this channel. More people who watch this channel are not subscribed than they are subscribed. So if you're a part of the majority who is not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It would do me a huge favor. I do ranking videos like this all the time and so much more. I'm an old school gamer with a knack for nostalgia, man. Boy, you talk about a throwback with Defender 2. You recognize this music? This was in a few games. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out probably being the most prominent. And HAL Laboratories had 3 games that were all kind of these old school arcade games. Defender 2 was one of them. I'm not a super fan of Defender 2. I played a lot of Defender for the Atari 2600 just because it was there. It's not my favorite though. It plays okay, it's kind of cool, especially if you're like, if you started with the Nintendo and you don't know stuff previously and you're just like, what's going on? It's a side-scrolling loop shooter. You just shoot all the enemies and all that, but some of these enemies will try to steal the civilians on the ground and take them and then carry them up to outer space. I remember playing this game, I envisioned that this town was my town. It's okay, I'm gonna give this game a C. It's kind of fun to check out, especially for the old school sense. Joust, buddy, if you've never played Joust, but you have played Balloon Fight, well, Balloon Fight came from Joust. You can't, and as much as I love Iwata, come on, man, you can't tell me that Balloon Fight was a 100% original idea, because Joust was out way before all this. Balloon Fight's great, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of Balloon Fight, but that's also because I'm a huge fan of Joust. You play as these flying ostriches, you have to bop the enemies, and then pick up their eggs. That's kind of how this game works. There's other things that'll fly in the way, the giant vulture that will come down and get you. After a while, the bottom of the screen gives way, and then the fire turns into a hand and tries to pull you in. That thing is terrifying. That thing will give you nightmares. Kind of like Balloon Fight, if you knock someone off of their dealio and wait long enough, then they'll hatch, and another ostrich will come in, and then they're kind of like upgraded as a fighter. Kind of cool. Big fan of Joust. I'll put this game as a B. We also have Millipede. If you saw Pixels by Adam Sandler, that's kind of like the Centipede, Millipede, that's kind of gained popularity a little bit with that film. And believe it or not, I actually kind of liked the movie. I know it's hokey and silly and goofy. I have it on 3D. I was able to watch it in 3D using my PSVR, because PSVR plays 3D Blu-rays. But let me talk about this game. It's called Millipede. Shoot the enemy. They turn into mushrooms. Get the mushrooms out of the way. You got DDT in there as well. You blow up the DDT. and it can blow up a whole bunch of your Millipede all at once. Love that. That's always super, super fun. But you gotta watch that, and then you also have to watch your character because there's like spiders and stuff down there, and you run into them all the time. In the arcade, plays with a trackball. Actually plays pretty decently with the D-pad. Again, it's another one of those like Defender 2, fun for the old school sins. I'll put this game also as a C. You have a game like Kabuki Quantum Fighter. The US version's weird enough. It's something about like your grandpa being inside the game, and so you jump into the game's programming, which turns you into a Kabuki for some reason. The gameplay itself, the graphics, the sound, the everything. If you liked Batman for the NES, and Batman for the NES is like a staple action platform kind of game. That's really nice and really well done. If you like that style of game, Kabuki Quantum Fighter, right up your alley. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. Big fan of this game. I mean, you're headbanging as your primary weapon. How cool is that? Someone ought to hack this game and put Slayer in there so you can mosh your enemy, headbang, whip their enemy. And not just headbanging too, you also get some other weapons that you can throw out your chip system how you will. I think it looks great, and I think it plays great, and I'm a big fan of this game. Kabuki Quantum Fighter, I am also giving as an A. Rollerball is video pinball, and I'm actually a big fan of video pinball. I love pinball, I love legit pinball, but I'm also a decent fan of video pinball as well. And video pinball, as you'll know, it can go one of two ways. It can be really, really great or really, really not. And Rollerball for the NES actually plays really well for an NES game, for an NES video pinball game. It really does. It's a huge playing field. It's like multiple screens worth of play field for video pinball, so if you can make your way to the top, that gives you some extra time before the ball gets all the way down to the ground, all the way to the bottom and everything. Got the Empire State Building right in the middle. It's all based on New York. It's called Rollerball. It's good, but I'm still giving this game a C. It might be a little higher if there was multiple tables you could select from. But this game, man, it was worth a rental because, man, if you had this game for the long haul, it would be the same game every day. I mean, you can challenge a high score, I guess, but what are you gonna do with that? So Rollerball, decent. I'll give it a C. Vegas Dream is the kind of game your mom could play back in the day. And I mean that in the utmost respect. Like my mom, for instance, was aware of video games, of course, heard me talking about them all the time and stuff like that too. And she didn't play this game. But I do know some of my friends' moms who didn't play video games. They weren't like video games are bad or anything like that. It just wasn't for them. But they would play this because it's gambling. It's poker. There's the roulette. There's slot machines, blackjack, games that they're familiar with that they can play and have some fun with. I was admittedly more of a Casino Kid fan myself. I did like Casino Kid. Vegas Dream is supposed to be better because there's more things you can play. And I'm not a gambling man in real life, so when it came to things like this, I was just like, well, why do I care if I have any money or not? Because that's not like real money or anything. And even with this round on roulette, it's like, well, that proves that. So anyway, I'll place a few bets here on the roulette table, and we'll see what happens. That's why I'm not a gambling man. Doesn't matter to me. I'll give this game a C. I'm indifferent to it. It's great, but play it or not, whatever. It's a gambling game. There you go. That covers all the games from HAL Laboratories for the NES, but I've also done Capcom, Konami, Data East, all these other great things. So you can binge the playlist, watch them all, and there's always a new one coming out soon. So if you have any suggestions of video game companies I should check out, if I haven't done so already, make sure you let me know in the comments. We'll see you again real soon. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna go back and play some more Kabuki Quantum Fighter.